Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and in this we are going to continue the spooky story The Haunted Dinosaur by Crippled von Cacklefur. Today we are going to start from chapter 13 and complete this book whole. So let's begin. Chapter 13, A Brilliant Idea. But Crippled didn't head straight for Glumeria's city hall. Instead, she turned onto a narrow side road, Delirium Street. Where are we going? Geronimo asked, confused. Crippled pulled up in the front of a building with a lopsided sign hanging over the entrance, Macabre Historic Museum. I just had a brilliant idea, Crippled squeaked. She leaped out of the Turbo Rapid 3000 and took the steps of the museum, three at a time. She emerged soon after with a bright smile on her snout and four brawny, muscular rodents. We are ready, Crippled, the most rugged of the four bellowed. A door on the side of the museum opened to reveal a massive antique catapult. The museum's director gave me permission to use it, Crippled explained. It dates back to medieval times when King Fuzzypaw, the lion-hearted, reigned in Mysterious Valley. It's very old, but don't worry, it still works perfectly. The four muscle mice pulled the massive machine out of the museum's door and into the street. One of them also carried a basket containing what looked like some wooden armor and a helmet made from half a coconut shell. Geronimo looked first at the basket and then at the catapult. A cold shiver ran down his fur as a frightening new thought seized him. What was that armor for? And what was Crippled's brilliant idea? Crippled followed Geronimo's gaze, guessed his thoughts. Oh, that's the armor to protect you when they hurl you onto this Pukosaurus back, Geronimo, she squeaked. Mummified mummies, Geronimo shrieked. No way, absolutely not. I will not be hurried by an ancient catapult. Geronimo didn't waste another second. He hightailed it out of there immediately. But unfortunately, Snip and Snap tripped him. He fell ungracefully into a stinging nettle bush, and Boris von Cacklefur grabbed him by the collar and dragged him out of the bush. Don't worry, Boris squeaked reassuringly. If you end up plastered to the ground like a rodent pancake, I promise to hold a whisker-lickingly gloomy funeral for you. I'll even compose a funeral ode for the occasion at no extra cost. I'll sing the famous aria An Extraordinary Mouse Lies Here, promised Madame La Tombe. How wonderful, Geronimo mumbled as he resigned himself to his fate. What else could he do? Geronimo and the von Cacklefurs followed the four muscle mice as they pushed the catapult all the way to the city hall. As soon as they arrived, the mayor burst through the crowd. He was carrying a trombone. What's that? Asked Shivereen. It's a precious family heirloom that I keep on exhibit at City Hall, Mayor Chatterpose said. I don't want this Pukosaurus to crush it the way it destroyed the statue of the heartbroken knight. He gestured toward the once famous statue in the middle of the square in front of City Hall. It's in pieces, he squeaked. Not even a whisker was spared. It was the symbol of Glumeria, Mayor Chatterpose continued, wiping at his snout. It was a pride and joy. Let's not dwell on a marble statue, Crippled interrupted impatiently. There's real fun on the line here. We have no time to lose. We need to launch Geronimo immediately. Chapter 14. I'm dying from the stench. The muscle mice pushed the catapult into position. The Spookosaurus was too busy trampling what was left of the statue to notice, but Shamley saw what was happening. He was still trapped under the skeleton's armpit. Save me! Shamley shouted. I'm dying from the stench. Crippled put the helmet on Geronimo's head and helped him put on the armor. You'll be totally safe with this on, she said encouragingly. Then she led the trembling journalist to the catapult. But how do you know that? Geronimo asked nervously. No one's ever used this catapult to fling a mouse at a dinosaur fossil before. And why does it have to be me? Stop whining, Geronimo, Crippled scolded him. Then she turned toward the four muscle mice. Are you ready to launch the mouse? We are, Crippled, they replied enthusiastically. One muscle mouse was holding an enormous pair of scissors. He was about to cut the rope that held back the arm of the catapult. Then cut it, Crippled cried. The muscle mouse snipped the rope and Geronimo went flying up, up, up into the air. Ah! He cried. Then he began to fall down, down, down. Ah! He shrieked as he landed on the Spookosaurus' backs with an enormous thud. Yay! The one Cacklefurs cried, applauding. What a perfect launch! The Spookosaurus wasn't happy at all about the new arrival. It began to wiggle from side to side, trying to shake Geronimo loose. Geronimo clung desperately to one of the bones that protruded from the dinosaur's spine. Help! He squeaked. I'm so scared. Pretend you are a cowboy in a rodeo, suggested Snip and Snap. So Geronimo straddled the Spookosaurus like a horse. Wah, wah, he kept repeating until the dinosaur finally stopped fighting. Now sing him the lullaby, shouted Boris. Geronimo climbed up closer to the Spookosaurus' ear. Then, in a trembling voice, he began to sing, Hush, little dino, don't give a roar. As if by magic, the dinosaur began to climb down. Calm down. It's working, Crippled shouted. It's working, the others agreed. It seems to be working a little too well, squeaked Shivery. She pointed at the dino. What? In Glumeria, began Tilly. Is the dinosaur doing? Continued Millie. With her grandpa, concluded Lily. The Spookosaurus had taken Shamley out from under his arm. The giant fossil was holding and rocking the aristocrat gently like a newborn mouseling as Geronimo sang. Oh, it's so sweet, Grandma Crypt squeaked, moved at the unexpected sight. Chapter 15. We'll lock you up in the castle crypt. Geronimo kept singing to the Spookosaurus, which was almost completely asleep. We'll lock you up in the castle crypt. As the lullaby came to an end, Crippled shouted to Shamley. Come on, Shamley, she squeaked. Jump down. But it was impossible. As soon as the rattlebum wriggled himself free, the Spookosaurus grabbed him up again. It seemed the dinosaur didn't want Shamley to fall. Maybe we could give him something else to cradle, Shivering suggested. Yes, but what? Crippled replied. There is something you could use. The mayor's wife whispered softly. What did you say, dear? Mayor Chatterpaws asked. There is something they could use, dear, Carol repeated. Your trombone. But it's a family heirloom, the mayor protested. It belonged to my great-great-grandfather's great-great-great-grandfather's great-great-great. The trombone, his wife repeated decisively. The rest happened very quickly. The mayor threw the trombone up to the Spookosaurus, and the dinosaur grabbed it instinctively. Once Shamley was free, he jumped down to safety. The dinosaur began to gently rock the instrument as it drifted off to sleep. Meanwhile, Geronimo swiftly scampered off the Spookosaurus' back. A few seconds later, the dinosaur had fallen into a deep forever sleep. All thanks to the Von Cacklefur family lullaby. The Spookosaurus was once again a giant, immobile fossil, but it wasn't inside the Glumeria Science Museum. Instead, it was in the middle of the town square, right where the statue of the heartbroken knight had been. Now, how are we going to move it from here? The mayor asked with a groan. Why do we have to move it? Carol asked her husband. It looks perfectly fine where it is, and it's a lot better than that horrible statue. Everyone in the square agreed. Then they rushed to surround and congratulate Geronimo. You are a hero, the triplets squeaked as they hugged him tightly. Then they turned to Crippled and thanked her too. But Shamley was still so angry with his long-time nemesis, Grandpa Frankenstein. He couldn't bring himself to thank any of the Von Cacklefurs for saving him. Instead, he stormed home, grumbling to himself the entire way. Benny, Denny and Lenny von der Vermeer approached the triplets. Now that your grandfather is okay, why don't we go back to our little party? They suggested. Then each brother took one of the triplets' arms. The mayor jumped at the word. Did I hear the word party? He asked. We absolutely must throw an unforgettable bash to celebrate our hero Geronimo. Actually, Geronimo protested timidly. If you don't mind, I'd rather go back to writing my encyclopedia of ghosts. But Crippled wouldn't hear of it. Forget it, she squeaked. Even though you were a complete Freddy Mouse, the mayor is right. You are a real hero today, Geronimo, and we have to celebrate. The mayor pretended Geronimo with an enormous rusted key. In the name of Glumeria, I give you this key to the city, he declared, because in these dark times. His wife tugged at his jacket, and the mayor immediately stopped the speech he had begun. I mean, let's celebrate, he cried. Everyone cheered. Hooray for Geronimo! Hooray for the von Cacklefur family! Hooray for Mysterious Valley! Chapter 16. You are so brave, Uncle G. A shiver ran down my fur as I finished reading the book. I had almost forgotten how scared I had been during that incredible adventure. My nephew Benjamin's eyes were filled with admiration. What a book! He exclaimed. It's the most whisker-chewing, tail-paralyzing story I've ever heard. And you were so brave, Uncle G. I was scared stiff, I admitted to my nephew. But when there was no other choice, I guess I found the courage. I hope someone destroyed Grandfather Frankenstein's horrible invention. Benjamin shuddered. Oh yes, it will never be used again. Will you publish Crippella's new book? Benjamin asked. Of course, I replied. In fact, I'll text her right now to let her know. She replied a few seconds later with her own text. I'm so happy, Geronimo. I'll let everyone in Glumeria know. We can have a book signing party and Chef Stewart will prepare his special Spookosaurus stew for everyone. My stomach lurched just thinking about Chef Stewart's awful cooking. But thinking of food made me realize I was hungry. I put down my cell phone and asked Benjamin if he wanted to go for an ice cream. He happily agreed. Let's go to Rooty Fruity, he said. I'll bet Lickety Squids has invented a new flavor since the last time I was there. When we arrived at the ice cream shop, Lickety suggested I try the new flavor. It was lizard green and covered with small white sprinkles. What is it? I asked, intrigued. Herb cheese ice cream topped with goat cheese sprinkles, he replied proudly. I call it dinosaur scales. So what do you say? Want to try it? No thank you, I replied. I was done with dinosaurs for a while, but I would be sure to bring a pin to Crippled and the von Cacklefurs on my next visit to Glumeria. I was sure they would appreciate such an unusual flavor. After all, they were a very unusual family. But being unique made the von Cacklefurs special, and Crippled truly was the best writer in Mysterious Valley. I knew her latest book was going to be a spooktacular bestseller. See you on my next adventure. The end.